Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I'm Vandy, and today I want to talk about the 5 nonfictions that I want to add to my collection. Recently, I've been on a kick of wanting to read more nonfiction. It's not recently. I guess like a couple years ago, I wanted to start implementing reading more nonfictions, and I read not a lot, but I feel like I started to get into the swing of things with reading nonfictions, and with that, I have been reading more from my library. I feel like going to the library and discovering new nonfictions is a great way to see if I want to add them into my collection. Since I'm still new to reading nonfiction, I'm just not sure, if it fits the vibes and stuff. I've read a couple, and sometimes I'm just like, ooh, this is not it. And then other times I'm like, ooh, yeah, I can see myself potentially buying it, but it's not like I must have this book. But I feel like these 5 are the ones that I'm like, ooh, I really want to purchase. Okay, so the first book is The Perfection Trap by Thomas Kieran, and I read this book last year, or was it 2024? I can't remember, but I read this, and the reason I got this book is because I wanted to see if I kind of am a perfectionist. I get a lot of comments from my friends and family that I am a perfectionist, but I feel like I have perfectionistic tendencies and not really a perfectionist. But I also wanted to understand why I wanted things just to be good enough, even though my goal, I didn't necessarily want it to be perfect, but I did want it to be good enough, and I felt like my goalposts kept on moving as I get closer and closer to my goal. But I really enjoyed this book, and it really went into how perfectionism is in people's lives, and the different types of perfectionism, and how perfectionism can be a part of, I think, anxiety and OCD and other things as well. So you don't necessarily just how should I phrase this? Being a perfectionist can be an underlying layer of something else. But I'm not a doctor, I'm not trying to diagnose anything, but it was really eye-opening, and it was really eye-opening for me, and I feel like I can relate to some of the perfectionism traits. Well, not some, a lot, but that's okay. I still feel like I have a lot of perfectionist tendencies. I still wouldn't call myself a perfectionist. But I really would love to have this book so I can go back and just reflect on some of the different perfectionisms and also mark up the book. But I feel like this, if I remember correctly, I feel like this book didn't really go into the how to make things just good enough. I mean, I think it touched on it, but if I remember correctly, it's not necessarily on the how to get out of the perfectionism tendencies, but it really looked on what perfectionism is, if that makes sense. Second book is Fluent Forever by Gabriel Weiner. You probably heard me mention this book a couple videos ago, but I am on my language learning journey, and I did not finish this book, but once I started it, I knew that I wanted to have a copy for myself. And Fluent Forever goes over how to better learn a language and really sustain the language that you are learning. I think there's tips and tricks on how to better learn a language, and once I started, I knew that I really wanted to mark this book up. And I think a lot of polyglots have read this book, and they really enjoyed it, I think. So I really wanted to, I still want to buy this book and have it for myself. Staying in the language learning category, the next book is The Power of Language by Verica, if I'm pronouncing her name right, Verica Marion. And I actually finished this book, and this book was really good. I think I mentioned this in my reading wrap-up, so I won't go into details, but this is going over like the coding of language, how we use languages to think, how we use languages to communicate with each other. And it's not just like speaking languages, she goes over, I think it's like native language and like, I don't know what the other language is, but it's like computer language, like AI type of language, like coding, and how we use to translate, how we use that language into creating the things that we want as well, and to communicate with others. I find it really interesting. So I felt like this really goes into the science behind languages and the history of languages, and it was really fascinating, and I really want this so I could go back into that book and just, there was a lot of things that I wanted to highlight within that book and that really stood out to me. So it was just very fascinating. And I think, I'm not sure if a lot of polyglots have read this book, but if you're a polyglot or are learning a language, have you read these two language books? I would love to know. And do you also have any recommendations for any other language learning books that possibly could help with grasping the understanding of retaining a new language efficiently and effectively? Because I feel like these two were really good. And fourth book is Fear is My Homeboy by Judy Holler. I am actually currently reading this book, and I already want to buy a copy and have it into my collection. So this is going over how to pretty much overcome fear and not let fear hold you back, and actually use fear to propel you forward. And a little vulnerable here, but I am a fearful person. I am a huge scaredy cat. I won't lie to you guys. I am. But I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone, because as a saying goes, closed mouths don't get fed, and there are just things that I want to strive for and goals that I want to hit, and I need to stop letting fear hold me back. And while reading this book, I feel like it gives like very useful tools and suggestions that I can actually apply into my life. It's not like, here, just do that, here, just do that. Like, Judy really goes into the why and the how, and she actually uses her life experiences to showcase and give examples of how she used fear to her advantage. So, like, fear is never gonna go away, but how can I use fear to propel myself forward? Like, fear is my homeboy. It's going to tag along with me, of course. So, but I'm going to use that to my advantage. So, I'm almost done with it, but I feel like I really want to purchase it, and, well, I think I really want to purchase it, and I also know that in the beginning of this book, she recommends you to mark up the book, but obviously I can't because what I'm currently reading is a library book, and I do not want to get fined. So yeah, but I am trying to, I don't know, reach my goals, and hopefully I can reach more of my goals and actually implement the things that I am learning from the books from this book. And let's see. Ooh, last but not least, book number 5 is My Hygge Home by Mike Waking. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And this is all about how to make your house into a home, and basically learning about hygge, which is essentially cozy, and how to really embrace and make your house into a home, and making it into a space that is truly calm and cozy and really fitting for you. So I do want to have this book because there are just some great tips about, I don't know, making your house into something that you can just truly relax and make it into your own sanctuary. I did read this book like 2 or 3 years ago, so this is all from the top of my head. But one of the tips that I can remember is like during dinner, when you're having dinner, you can have like a candlelit dinner, and it's better to have like a round table rather than like a rectangular table, because when you're having guests over or people sitting at the table, you can easily have a conversation with them, rather than like with a rectangular. It feels, with the circular or round table, it feels more inviting. So there are just some tips that I just kind of want to implement for when I have my own place or something like that. But, or I don't know, we'll see. But I just would love to have that book and just make it my home and my own sanctuary and make it cozy. I would also love to like look back into that book from time to time and just see what I can add here and there, and what I can possibly do to make, you know, things a little better, a little bit cozier as the years go on and stuff like that. So we'll see. But those were all 5 of the books that I would love to purchase and add to my collection that I have read from the library. I really enjoy discovering new books from the library and see if I would potentially want to add them into my own personal collection. Do you feel like you do the same thing as well, or do you just go to the bookstore and just buy nonfictions that kind of stand out to you and see where it goes? I feel like sometimes I do that. I want to do that, but I have more of a tendency to do that with fiction rather than nonfiction. I feel like I want to really make sure with nonfiction, because it's not something that I normally gravitate to, if that makes sense. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any nonfictions that you have read from the library and that you would like to add into your personal collection. And let me know if we have read the same books that I have mentioned in this video. So thank you so much for watching. And until next time, my friends, stay curious, stay cozy, stay reading. Bye, guys.